Drums, please.
Hey everybody, C-Note here, and welcome to Dopamine. Did you like that move? It was like whoosh. Everybody, C-Note here, and welcome to Dopamine, the show that is all about mental health empowerment. Today on the show, I'm talking to my fellow INTPs, because I am an INTP that gives advice and info to INTPs about how to navigate the world and use your strengths to actually exist and do things and be productive and have romance and health and all these good things. All these good things that we need to be a human person. Today on the show, I want to talk about why INTPs have such a hard time typing themselves and knowing for sure that they are an INTP. I've seen this because Are You Really an INTP is one of my most popular videos on this channel, and there's a reason for that. INTPs have such a hard time typing ourselves because there's just so much information around personality psychology that the deeper that you dive into it, the more complex it gets, the more difficult it gets to not only understand the material, but to then understand what other people show up like in experience. In your own personal experience, there are all sorts of different interpretations of typology, the ways that people explain different functions. And then there are complex ideas about, like, first of all, you're starting with the 4-letter code. Then you have to start to understand some of the cognitive functions. And then you have to understand how those functions play together. And then some people go into shadow functions, and then that gets all crazy and everyone gets into a tizzy, and you're like, but I could be just showing my SE in this 8th, 7th position thing, and like it gets really convoluted. And part of the reason, I'd say one of the first reasons, is that we are, as INTPs, attuned to complex thinking. We really enjoy complex thinking. That means sometimes we make things more complex than they need to be, so that we can continue to navigate and play with this complex thinking. Sometimes there's a certain, I've seen that there's a bit of a certain joy around continuing to be confused about your personality type, because there's something to the rightness fixation of being able to say, like, well, I don't really know about my type because it could be this, or this, and there's something a little bit there's something about ruminating on it that continues to feel good, that having an answer may not necessarily be satisfying. You know, for INTPs, we're all about process. We're all about understanding the meaning behind things. So to have the answer, the specific answer, may not necessarily be as exciting as the search for the answer. So just taking a test and saying INTP and then accepting it is not as exciting as continuing to find as many nuanced details as we can to confirm our personality type. Right? Every little detail has to add up. And if there's any contingencies or any not contingencies, what's the word? Any inconsistencies, if there's any inconsistencies in what we are seeing and experiencing, then, you know, it's going to be easy for us to continue to doubt ourselves. So that's one of the challenges, right? Is that there are so many different teachers on the internet around personality types. But the thing is that not every teacher is giving you the most accurate, direct, and genuine information based on personal experience. So many people have just read books and then regurgitated things from those books, or have reinterpreted their own interpretation of personality types, put it into forums where there's a lot of people that are just like, I think I'm this or I'm that. And it's easy to see that as something that we can use as information to continue to doubt ourselves. Does that all make sense? What I'm saying is that there are not many official doctrines around Myers-Briggs. There's a lot of really great studies. There's a lot of actual legit information. But in specifically today's world, there are people who are trying to basically sort of reinterpret this for themselves and still continue to kind of banter and talk about it in a way that allows for interpretation of yourself to be confused. You can confuse yourself really easily by having conversations on Twitter, or you talk to another INTP and like you see someone like me who I'm on screen, I'm talking, I'm comfortable, I don't veer away from the topic too much, and I can do all of these things that a lot of INTPs wish that they could do, and therefore they discount me as being an INTP. And that's the thing. That's probably another point, is that INTPs are as complex as any other personality type. There are commonalities, there are things that are persistent throughout each version of an INTP, but there are different varieties of INTPs. There are some that cling to introverted thinking and are simply the cliche robotic INTP that they will not look at anything but information. Then there are more philosopher-seeker types like myself who will spend more time sort of playing with the irrational and being comfortable with things being inaccurate sometimes for the sake of understanding the difference between truth and belief and how powerful both of those things are. And I can be emotionally expressive. I'm an Enneagram 5, which Enneagram plays a part sometimes as well. Then there are other INTPs that are just like super goofy and joyous. You think of like, I don't know if Olaf from Frozen would be an INTP, but he's probably the most, like, if he is an INTP, he would be the example of like the super joyous and constantly bubbly INTP, which does exist in the world. There are just so many varieties of INTPs, which I've done a video on as well, that again, it doesn't discount you from being an INTP because you are not like one of those INTPs. Now, the other challenge is that there are so many teachers, there are so many different people that are teaching this, that it's really tough for us to trust who can we believe? Who has the honest information? And that's for you to interpret as an INTP. I'm an INTP, so that gives me authority in that space as well. But I've also worked with Personality Hacker. I've met with and talked to many INTPs. I've done personality typing. I've done profiling for quite a while now, and I've done plenty of sessions. And I just have a lot of personal experience. That's for you to decide if I'm someone that you're going to believe and trust. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to find a way to find one of those teachers to help you figure that out. And the reason for that is that personality typing, like when you're doing a profiling session versus doing an online test and everything that we do with our complex minds is usually focused on the conscious mind. All we can interpret from ourselves is what we know about ourselves. That is the conscious mind. And we don't always see what we're unable to see. Does that make sense? Like, if there are behaviors that we exhibit, words that we say, ways that we behave, there are some things that we can't see in the mirror, that only someone else with a different perspective, with different training, with different experience is able to see. That's why personality profiling is important. Not only just if someone's confused and doesn't know their type at all, but if you're trying to confirm your personality type, working with a trained profiler is a way to confirm and verify your type from someone who is experienced, someone who can see the things that you can't see about yourself, and be able to give you these tools to be able to verify for sure that you're an INTP. And now you're going to take all of that still and probably create some confusion in your mind. But again, that's because we love complex thinking. And because we're capable of complex thinking, we tend to think we can just figure it out ourselves. And truth is, sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. There are complexities when it comes to upbringing, when it comes to the type of INTP that you are. And I'm not just talking about the 16 personalities, turbulent versus the A, I forget what the A means, but I mean that there are just basically 7.7 billion different personalities in the world. There are 16 caricatures and archetypes, but each INTP is its own individual person. Each INTP has its own individual characteristics, individual upbringing, ways of using language, desires, and wants in the world, right? We're not all the same. And that's the mistake that sometimes INTPs make, is the assumption that because I'm not exactly like that person, I'm definitely not an INTP. Or there was one INFJ once that I met that was very TI heavy, that I was much like that guy. So am I an INFJ? You know, a lot of people think they're an INFJ for some reason. So it's just a matter of confirming it. Really, if you're not sure, then it's really like any deductive challenge that an INTP has, that if you're stuck That means you have to confer with someone else. And that doesn't mean you're any less intelligent. That's the challenge also. There's so many challenges. But that's one of the challenges also, is that we as INTPs feel like we can do everything ourselves. I've talked to INTPs who think they can just do their own therapy, which I've done plenty of my own therapy, but not all of it. You know, there are projects and programs that I work on that I can't completely do by myself. Molly helps me with the Finding and Maintaining Relationships course because it largely involved our relationship. I can't speak for her, so I needed her involved. She gave me all sorts of great ideas of how to organize this thing and put it in a way that everybody can kind of interpret and understand and be evergreen. That's amazing. And I think that's part of the extroverted intuition growth of an INTP, is allowing yourself the opportunity to work with other people, to brainstorm with other people, and to trust other people, to trust your teachers, to trust coaches, trust therapists, and the people that are trying to help you. And not just dismiss them all the time, but to take the little bits of information that make sense and apply it into your world. I trust and promise you that I am a trained profiler and I know what I'm doing. So if I type you as an INTP, damn sure it's going to be so much more accurate than a personality test. That's the thing. The online test will help you figure out your conscious awareness, which at the moment you could be more FE focused because you're in high stress, or you could be SI focused because your parents were both introverted sensors, or you could be an NE guy that is completely all over the place. Like, I don't know if you ever watched the Circle on Netflix, but that guy Shoebomb, he's like one of those joyous INTPs that he's just like, yeah, and he's just like all over the place, right? So that's totally possible for that to exist. So you could be just one of those joyous INTPs, or you could be one of those strictly TI INTPs, or you could be somewhere in between, more like me, more of the TI FE polarity types that are a little bit more, I guess, romantical at times, and sometimes expressive and creative. I think every INTP is capable of all of these different aspects, but some just have a little bit more of a natural boost than others in terms of how they would like to be. And there's going to be INTPs at different stages of development. I know people have talked about the concept of a jumper, where you kind of just stay in your attitude, whether it's for INTPs, that would be staying in TI and SI. That's not a personality type. That just means you're at a certain stage of development. That doesn't mean you're going to stay that way. There's just aspects of your life that hasn't kicked in yet. Or there's certain experiences you haven't met with yet. You know, I think encouraging development is really what this is all about. So really, at the end of the day, there are a couple of main reasons why INTPs have a hard time typing themselves. We don't always know who to trust. We can't always trust ourselves. We're only aware of the conscious mind, so we need to ask other people for some help. And I don't know, I had the other one, but I've lost it. but you know, watch the video again. You can learn all of that stuff. So at the end of the day, those are some of the main reasons why INTPs have a hard time typing themselves and confirming their own type. So INTPs, we're just confused. We're confused, and we always want to get to a place when it comes to information where there's nowhere else to go. Meaning we have to understand ourselves so thoroughly, to understand the material so thoroughly, that there's no wiggle room for error. And because all of this in terms of personality type is so fluid, meaning that there are different varieties of personality types, there are different connections between polarities of cognitive functions. There are different ways that people show up in the world at different times. There are different sets of information out there that is just so easy to be confused when you're trying to look for the exact, objective, perfect thing. But when it comes to personality type, at some point, you just got to call it. You got to say there's a sufficient enough information to say that I'm an INTP. It's not about absolute 100% certainty, because right now this is all a theoretical science. This is all stuff that is experiential. It's all about psychology. It's about things that we can't yet measure. There are people working on that. There are people working on how to measure our understanding of personality type and connecting it to where the brain lights up. But there's not enough information to make that objective connection. So if you're going to get involved in personality typology and understand your personality type, you have to understand that there's going to be a time where you have to just call it. And you have to understand that there's enough information there to know your personality type. And it's okay to keep asking questions. It's okay to ask other people questions. But if you're confusing yourself and going in circles, the best idea is to go talk to someone else, and specifically talk to someone else who's experienced. Talk to teachers, talk to coaches, trust some of the people that are, doing infotainment like I am, buy courses, celebrate them, work with them, do profiling sessions with people. If you need to do multiple profiling sessions to be sure, then do it. But I'm going to say this is important, that you need to invest in people who are doing this seriously and professionally. Now, I'm saying this with my own bias because I consider myself one of those people. But there are people who are going on YouTube and just kind of doing it casually, and then there's like loose stereotypes and stuff like that. This is a profession for me. I'm doing this because I care about INTPs, but I'm trying to build something. I'm trying to build something to help the world in as best a way that I can, to help myself, to help INTPs grow, and to make this something serious, and then be able to train other people how to profile, how to also take this seriously, so that this can be used in therapy, so that this can be used in coaching, and it can actually help people to get through transitions and difficult times in their lives, because we need that. There's plenty of stuff out there that's being jokey and memey and stereotypy, all about this stuff. If you want any of that, this is not the place for you. But if you want to take this seriously, and you want to know your personality type, because it's going to help you do some personal development, it's going to help you grow, it's going to help you know where to go next, then that's when you sign up for a profiling session that you will pay for. Pay someone, because first of all, that helps you put skin in the game. That means you're taking it seriously. Second of all, they are going to take it seriously, because if you're paying someone, then they need to owe you a quality product. They need to owe you the service. They need to make sure that you're getting something out of it. So that's why it's so important to invest in yourself and to invest in the creators and teachers who are doing this, so that we can continue to take this seriously, so that we have the time, energy, and attention to take this seriously. It all makes sense to me, so that's why I present it that way. So if you want to go sign up for a profiling session to verify your type, verify you're an INTP, or to verify if you're a different type and you want to know what your type is, we'll go through a 1-hour profiling session. Then we do a verification session, because you are the ultimate answer. It's not me telling you what your type is, which is another typology problem, but we'll talk about that another time. It's about verifying it, because you have to agree at every step of the process. You have to understand that this is a part of yourself. And then we do the explainer of all of the cognitive functions, how that relates to your life, and everything that we did in the interview. And sometimes free coaching comes out of it, which is a really great value on its own. So I'm only charging $99 for a profiling session. If you go to bit.ly/profiling session, all lowercase, you can go sign up for there. You can pick any time you want, and then I'll send you an invoice and we'll get that paid for and we'll get that started. It's a 1 to 2 hour session depending on how long it takes. But trust me, this is usually a game changer for people. Once they pass this threshold, there's a sense of relief. There's this resting of the shoulders. There's this letting go. You can actually be yourself now and actually start to work towards being yourself and actually learning how to grow and develop instead of being stuck in diagnosis. I don't want you to be stuck in diagnosis. I want you to be able to take this idea of being an INTP, the grounded nature of being an INTP, and start to grow from it. That was a sprinkle confetti tree, by the way. And be able to grow from this moment of understanding, okay, I'm an INTP. What does this mean now? It means I can go watch the rest of C-Note's videos, but it also means that I know how to grow from here. I can focus on my secondary function. I can go explore. I can go learn how to try new things. I can start to brainstorm with other people. I can start to practice expressing myself. I can allow myself permission to think what I think and how I think. That's the whole thing. That's the whole enchilada. Now I'm hungry. Anyway, I appreciate you guys. Take care of yourselves and each other. Go to dopamine.life to check out the podcast, check out all the other resources and articles that we have for this sort of thing. And then go to bit.ly/profiling session if you would like to sign up for a profiling session. It would help me, it would help the courses that I make, it would help, continue to take this seriously and to not have to get a job, because then I won't have time to do this as much. And if I have more time to do this, then I can make videos daily. I can do podcasts daily. I can do articles daily. I've got, room to do it all. So your support means everything. So I appreciate you. Share this with a friend, share this with a fellow INTP, share this in places where INTPs hang out. I'm trying to figure out more of those places. I want to spread the word. I want this to grow. I appreciate you guys for your support. You guys leave wonderful comments. Thank you so much. Take care of yourselves and each other. And I'll catch you next time on Dopamine. See ya.